So I started playing the piano when I was 3 years old. We had a piano in the house, and I went to a musical preschool. And one day I would come home and I tried to plunk out the notes of the songs that they would teach us at preschool. And very quickly after I figured out the melody in my right hand, I don't remember this, my parents tell me this, and I've seen videos that I guess validate this, but I was very quick to get my left hand and understand the harmony and the rhythm of it as well. And my parents tried to find, piano teachers for me, but I was 3 years old. I thought it was a play date. But, through my parents' encouragement and the community I had around me, I kept with the music and I absolutely loved it. Whatever songs my parents or my grandparents played for me, I would listen to it 2 or 3 times, and I would go over to the piano and figure out what chords, like what the melody was, and I would try to learn the songs. And that's what I'm doing, I guess, on a much higher level today is, I'll sit and learn all of these songs. And that's what I do here a lot at Pine Crest. I'll orchestrate things for the orchestra and for the band. And I'll, work with students who have the same love for music that I do and help them in the way that I would have liked to have been helped. So I play a little bit of drums, a little bit of bass, and yeah, I picked up both the drums and the bass as a resource because I play primarily in a piano trio context, the jazz piano trio, which is piano-based drums. And I wanted to understand what what the musicians I was playing with are going through. So in an effort to write, more appropriately for the instrument, I learned how to play the drums and the bass. And being at Pine Crest, actually, I was able to really develop both my drumming and my bass playing, as Mr. Finn and Dr. Francis gave me an outlet to really perform and not just, work on it in a room by myself, but a whole other side of playing those instruments. I think I was always not just a piano player. I was always thinking about composition and thinking about arrangements, although I didn't realize it. I mean, when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would write these little melodies that I heard in my head. And I always have music in my head, which I know sounds strange, but it's not that strange. But I always hear these melodies in my head, and sometimes it's chords, but usually melodies. And when I justify, like, oh, maybe this is good enough to write down or play once more than, the initial performance, I guess. And then arranging in playing jazz music is a very common idea of, taking that familiar melody that everybody knows and loves and maybe putting different chords or different rhythms behind it, or putting the music through a new and different and interesting lens. And that's something that I was really interested in when I heard, the great jazz pianists and all the great jazz musicians' arrangements of popular songs or other jazz songs and their version of it. It was something that I was really drawn to. And I've been very fortunate to compose in a lot of different scenarios. I've written a lot of music for, piano trio. I've written 2 larger ensembles, piano and orchestra pieces for the Miami Symphony. And yeah, I've arranged for orchestras, for large format jazz bands. So I absolutely love classical music. And it's relatively newer, my love for classical music, than it is for jazz music, just because I started playing by ear, and all of those teachers that I had, at the beginning of my piano playing, my career, I don't know. But all those teachers, it was like, you have to play classical music, you have to curl your fingers, and playing the piano was fun for me. It always is fun for me. I feel this great sense of joy that, I don't really feel when I do anything else playing the piano. And that idea of, disciplining and playing the same thing over and over again kind of ruined my interpretation of classical music. And it took me a while to come to it. And I came to classical music as a listener first. I heard, I believe it was Beethoven's Third Symphony, and that was really eye-opening. Like, this is unbelievably great. Like, this is probably the epitome of music. And I very quickly got into classical music by listening to it. I would start to play things that I heard my favorite classical pianists like Horowitz and Glenn Gould and Arthur Rubinstein play, albeit, not at that level, but, I would read through some Beethoven sonatas and the Bach Well-Tempered Clavier, and I very quickly, through the help of my teacher, who is unbelievable, who has completely changed the way I play the piano and think about music, I really found this love for classical music, and now it's probably 80 to 85% of what I practice. It's classical music for my sound, for my technique, for the facility, for me as a piano player. I would credit about 85% of that to classical music now. There are a couple of things that I'm very proud of that I've been a part of. I was the youngest performer at the Newport Jazz Festival in, I believe, 2019, which is the iconic jazz festival. That's where Duke Ellington had, his career comeback, Miles Davis and Louis Armstrong. My heroes and some of my favorite recordings are, live at Newport. So having the opportunity to play that festival was a real dream come true. I've released 3 albums alongside some of my favorite musicians. The third one actually just came out. It's a live recording at Jazz at Lincoln Center that I'm very proud of, both musically and everything else. I'm very fortunate to be around a lot of people that I idolize at a young age, and people that I grew up, that's my hero. Now I can call them or I can text them if I ever have a question. Like David Foster wrote the liner notes to my Live at Dizzy's album, that's the Live at Jazz at Lincoln Center album. And that's someone whose music that I, along with pretty much everybody else, probably knows and recognizes. And to have someone like that, be in my corner, someone that I can text or call if I ever have a question about any music, is really special to me. I would choose writing, arranging, composing, recording over performing. My parents wholeheartedly disagree with this, but I'm of the belief that if you're able to move a couple people, like really move them and impact a couple of people with your music, I would take that any day over 300 or 400 people enjoying music or saying, oh, that was a nice night. Like, music has the rare power to move people that I don't know that everybody fully understands until they've been moved by music. But music has that rare power to really change the way people think about things, bring people together. I mean, there's no language barrier. There's nothing in that with music. Everybody hears music. Everybody hears the same thing, but they interpret it differently. And that's the special thing about music that I'm very, very lucky that I get to partake in. I have no idea what my future looks like, and I love that. There's so many people that I've met that the day before I met them, I would have thought, oh, I might not ever encounter that person. Or there's so many people that I'm so lucky to be around, and being in New York next year, which is music capital of the world, in my opinion, definitely the jazz capital of the world. And being around all of the greatest jazz musicians and classical musicians, just being in that environment, I'm really looking forward to, and having the opportunity to collaborate with someone who I might not have met yet, but I'm very open, and everything I do is for the love of music, for my love of music. So whatever that is, I know I'll be happy and hopefully successful.